What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the MTG Misfits show. And I am G, and I'm joined by Justin. What's up?
What's up, guys?
And today we are going to be going over the Arena Championship 7 and the deck lists, $250,000. What did you think about that tournament, Justin?
God, I loved it. I loved that the stakes were high. I love that round two was single elimination. The guy who won it, the Satu, Kazuki Satu, sorry if I'm scorching it. I mean, he had to wake up at midnight to play. So when he was done, it was like 11 in the morning, I think they were saying.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that. That's pretty funny. Yeah, the time differences is so weird when it's an arena tournament, but oh, you better believe I would be ready. I don't care what time it is. I would be so pumped. I did want to mention first here that our third place deck is for Jeskai Convoke from Kazuhiko Hasegawa. He went 9-0 going into the top 8, and that was super impressive with this Jeskai Convoke deck. He had the best result out of everyone else in the tournament because first and second place were 9-2.
Yeah, he was like the first seed. As you guys could see, first and second are 9-2 records, and the number one seed, who missed it by one place, is 9-1. God, and he was crushing it. I mean, being undefeated, being the first seed coming in, and you're in the semifinals.
Yeah, we love these high stakes standard tournaments. So, something that a deck that caught our attention was the Simic Terror deck that made top 8. With this deck, it's doing a lot of crazy stuff. You got Up the Beanstalk, you got Storm Chaser's Talent, you got This Town Ain't Big Enough. So it's like, what are all these weird cash grabs in there? And that's the whole gist of the deck, right? For the most part, it's like, let's get these creatures out for really, really cheap. Tolarian Terror can come out for 1, and the Eddie Merc Crab can come out for 2. So it's kind of like turbo into these 8 creatures in the deck. So also the Storm Chaser's Talent makes those otters. And so you can actually set up a situation where the otters, because they have prowess, can become huge and attack for a bunch of damage in one turn.
The Tolarian Terror, because this deck is a tear. To beat, it's very hard to beat because everybody's favorite card right here, this town's not big enough. You're not returning creatures, you're returning permanents. So what a lot of people will do, you play the Storm Chaser's Talent for 1, this town ain't big enough, and you keep getting it back, you keep casting it, you keep getting 1/1s. Another reason I like it, G, is because look how cheap it is. This is a cheap deck that can actually be competitive.
That's a very good point. I think going into standard right now, if you don't already have these cards and you're going to buy a deck, it's very smart to look at these kind of championships and see what's a cheap deck that I could build right now to take to my store championship, for example.
Okay, the next deck that we want to talk about is the Convoke.
It's been around for some time, and it's no surprise, still very, very strong. And like you mentioned, this player was 9-0 until they lost, and it's a single elimination tournament. So that's what I really like about this is that this player knew what they were doing, making sure you take a deck that you know what you're doing with, and you could have been playing for the last 4 or 5 months. That's this type of deck here.
Looking at it, it looks like the only modifications that were taking place of this old style deck, I'm pretty sure, is 4 Mockingbirds and 4 Sheltered by Ghost. Everything else looks pretty much the same. The Mockingbirds, they just play such a huge part. Pretty much your main objective is to play very small but useful creatures. Resolute Reinforcements, making multiple 1/1s. The Gleeful Demolition. This is one of the main cards for the deck. And then killing everybody by the Recruiter. Just to be clear, so everyone knows this is what the deck does. And the most popular thing right now being All these little spot removal cards. Are you going to spend your go for the throat on the Nova's Inspector? Probably the Warden if it's big enough, but all these creatures are little and it's hard just to deal with one. And you think a board clear is going to help. Well, then you got Knight Errant of the Arrows where you get more creatures.
Great consideration moving forward in Standard.
True.
And congrats to this player again for just killing it in the tournament. They couldn't close, but I'm sure that given another chance, they might just win the thing.
And now to the main event. This finals went to the game 3 and had a spectacular finish.
It is 11 in the morning right now. He's been playing.
We're going to go over the second place deck really quick. We'll just do the Dimir mid-range. Everyone has seen it, just so many, but we're at least going to look at it. 4 Endearing Curiosity, 4 Masterminds, 4 Flood Pits, 2 Mockingbirds on this version, which is, I guess I have been seeing it, but it's a little surprising. Feybloom Trick, where you could tap something and get 2 1/1s.
It's getting upgrades. I mean, you mentioned the Feybloom Trick. I think that's a big one here, and a pretty big reason I think why they made it into the finals. I don't think all the Dimir mid-range players were on for Feybloom Trick. Some maybe didn't even run it at all. They have an Enduring Curiosity that they might be trying to trigger. Is a pretty big deal, and then giving you 2 flyers. You mentioned Kaito. You can, almost assuredly get in, unblockable damage with at least one of them. And here comes Kaito, right, as ninjutsu.
No, they play so good in this Dimir deck. They just came through, like you said, with the Curiosity to just almost like for sure you're drawing a card this turn, if not more. The 4 Feybloom Tricks, the 2 Nowhere to Runs, the Mockingbirds. It's a little different, but take a good look. This is what wins. Which leads us to the first place deck. Gruul Aggro. First place, 30 grand. Epic finals. Let's get into it.
This one kind of just makes use of every single creature in the deck. And a lot of these threats get out of hand fast. But the Innkeeper's Talent ×2 in this deck particularly is just such smart deck building, I think. Like being able to have that go wide. So it's no surprise to me that like a lot of players in this tournament ran a similar deck. Even the mono red, but of course the green just allows it to go over the tops.
This is a beautiful Gruul Aggro deck. Starting off with the mouse package, everyone knows that that's boring. Only 2 Screaming Nemesis. Okay. And I love the tech that we have going here. 1 Obliterating Bolt. 1 Torch the Tower. 1 Snakeskin Veil.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me that there's some 1-ofs or even the 2 of Screaming Nemesis versus just 4/4/4 of everything, right? I mean, look, we're Monastery Swiftspear ×2 can seem just off for a lot of players that love to run decks like this and beat down. But it does make sense to kind of trim the fat. You don't want the game to go too long when you're playing a deck like this. 6 spells that just do direct damage to the face is actually pretty legit when you want to finish the game in a certain amount of turns and not give your opponent any wiggle room at all. Like,
I'll tell you what, he had some balls. It was like he would just go for things that a lot of people wouldn't, and it paid off.
Yeah, make them have it, as they say. You got to make them have it sometimes. So, making sure that you take some sequences and you push towards it and you're like, okay, well, here it is. I set this up, right? So you're going to have it here or you're going to die or you're going to be in a really tough spot for the next few turns. And that's what this deck does. It pushes you to your limits. If you're an opponent you're looking at this and you're like, you're stressed out the whole time. And that Snakeskin Veil is an interesting point that you brought up, just it being a one of. But I do think it comes back to, again, like, you can't have too many of those type of effects because Snakeskin Veil a lot of times is a reactive card, and this deck is not about being reactive. It's entirely the opposite spectrum. So having exactly one of protection spell can be lined up in like perfect spots. You can hold on to it from the beginning if it's in your opening hand and make sure you set it up for the perfect spot. All right, and with that, that concludes us looking at this awesome championship here on Arena. And so, again, congrats to the players who made it into the Pro Tour here, and then of course the ones who made it into Worlds first and second place. Thanks for checking this out. And we, again, are the MTG Misfits. We love to bring you awesome content like this standard tournament. So please like, subscribe, and stay tuned for a lot more cool breakdowns of these awesome decks and awesome tournaments.